All right, and now let's deal with handle change. So every time we type something in input, I also want to change the state value. And also let's deal with empty values in the submit one. So for time being, we'll just log if the values are empty. But in next video, we'll set up awesome library by the name of React Toastify that provides nice toasts, or you can also call them alerts. Now, during this video, we'll heavily rely on dynamic object keys feature, which comes from JavaScript. Again, this is not React specific. And if you need to jog your memory, please utilize this link to my JavaScript Nuggets video where I cover this in great detail. So effectively, I'm talking about this, where if we have an object and if I want to change the property dynamically, basically this is not going to be name property. It could be email or password or whatever. Then we use the square brackets, pass in the variable name, and then we just need to set up the value. As far as the handle change, at the moment, every time we type something in one of the inputs, we just get back the input, correct? With type, name, and rest of the stuff. And what's really cool that using this event object, we can go with event target, grab the name, and that's why it was important that it matches exactly what we have in the state. That's why we need to set it up as email, password, as well as the name. And also we can grab the value. So whatever is typed in. And then we want to invoke set values, where again, since we have the object, we'll copy the current state. So values. If we won't have that, then we'll just return this. And then dynamically, since this value will change and this value will change, we'll grab the property that's in a state and we'll set it equal to whatever we have in input. And then we'll deal with empty values. There's tiny gotcha over here because we also have is member. So let's get cracking. Where in the register, first, I want to scroll up. I want to find my handle change. And instead of just logging the target, why don't we set up two variables? We'll say here name, and that one is equal to event target and name. Let's copy and paste. Probably one too many. And then let's set up here the value. And once we have that, let's log that. And in here, I'm going to go with the template string. I'm just going to say here name is equal to, and then we have the value. Now again, we'll only have one letter basically there because we're not affecting the state value. But notice, as I'm typing, it gets me the name of the input as well as that one value. The same is going to work with password. The same is going to work with the name. Now what we want to do, we want to take both of them. So this is the name that's going to be looking for one of the properties in the state. And we'll set this as the value. So at the moment we have empty strings. That's why basically we only have this one in the console. But once we change that, we'll nicely see what we're typing. So let's go here with set values. Again, we want to go with values. We copy and paste the existing state values. And then dynamically, we want to grab one of the properties. Again, the reason why we're doing that because we're using the same function for all three inputs. So it's not going to be only email or password. It can be any of them. And that's why we'll say, grab me that property here in the object. And let's set it equal to whatever is the value. Now I think we can just remove this. And I'm going to navigate to the big screen. And in here, I'm just looking for the state value. So let me start typing and check it out. In the state, we have corresponding value. And also, now it persists in the input, since, of course, we have the controlled input. So that's as far as the handle change. Now let's deal with on submit. Where first, where we have the function, we'll prevent the default. We don't really care about the event target anymore. I just wanted to showcase that, of course, we're accessing the form. Now what I want to get is all of the state values. I wanted to structure them from the values. So let's say here, const. We're going to go with name, email, password, is member as well. This is going to be important in the second, as well as when we set up our AJAX request. And all of that is coming from the values. And now let's set up that check, where if all of the values are missing, then we want to say, hey, please fill out all of the fields. But there's a tiny gotcha in here. So let's say here if, and then if there is no email, or if there is no password, if there is no password, then we want to log that, correct? And don't worry, name is coming up. Let's say here log, and we're just going to go here with please provide all values. Please provide or fill out all fields. Fill out all fields like so. Let's save it. And what you'll notice that if I try to submit here, now I have please fill out all fields. Now here's a $1 million question. Should we add here name as well? Well, let's think about it. Okay, so if we're trying to register, it's one thing. Yes, then definitely we're looking for the name. But when we're logging in, we're not even displaying the name here. So how can user possibly enter that value? Should he or she go back to the register, set it up here, and then log in? No, that definitely doesn't make sense. And let me show you what I'm talking about. So let me add to the password one more or, and let's say name. So let's save it. And now notice if I'll try to log in, and let's say that I'm sending the AJAX request, I'm still going to get this please fill out all values, even if I actually provide them. If I have John and then let's say some kind of password, I'll still have that log. And in order to fix that, we can check for is member. And essentially what I'm saying is that if is member is false, that means that I'll display here register. And if that's the case, then I want to check for the name. However, if the member is true, which is going to be for the login, then of course I don't want to check this. How we can set this up? Well, we can add one more set of parentheses. And then in here, let's say if is member is false, only then check for the name, like so. So now what's going to happen, once I click, let's say on a login, you'll notice that nothing is in the console. Only once I switch to register and let's say don't provide the name, only then I'll see that log again. Notice if we have a login, that doesn't happen. So this is going to work. That's how we can set up the handle change. So now we have controlled inputs in here. And also that's how we can check for empty values in both cases. If the user is a member or he or she is not a member.